Presenting The Jay and the Peacocks by Aliceyn Smith, a fable. And Aliceyn made her own illustrations of the story. Okay, go.
In the branches of an ancient oak tree there was a nest made from twigs and leaves, held together with straw and wool. In it lived a mother and father Jay and their 4 children who cheeped and chirped happily all day long. When the little Jays were big enough to fly, their mama and papa showed them how to catch their own worms and how to imitate other birds for fun. When the biggest Jay was 7 weeks old and almost a grown-up, he flew over a tall bush and found himself in a king's garden. It was late spring and the roses were already in bloom. There was a fountain in the middle of the garden with a host of magnificent peacocks laying on the grass around it. The young Jay had never seen such dazzling creatures before. The peacocks paraded in front of the fountain, their glossy tails fanned out to catch the light of the sun. Their feathers sparkled and shimmered, a scene of blue and green flecked with gold and jet black. Suddenly the Jay felt embarrassed about his own humble plumage, like a man in a nightmare who blunders into a temple wearing his everyday rags. He hid in a fig tree. A servant came out of the palace with a wicker basket and scattered food for the peacocks. A young prince ran out to play among the birds, laughing and admiring their colors. After they had eaten, the peacocks all fell asleep, and the Jay was able to flutter out of the tree unnoticed. Back home, his mother asked if he had a good day. It was fine, he said without his usual enthusiasm, and all that night he could not stop thinking about those peacocks and their gorgeous feathers. In the morning, he flew to a pond and, inspecting his sad reflection in the water, sighed, "Oh, how I wish I was a peacock too. Then I could live by the water in the king's garden and be admired by the prince. It would be much more fun than hunting for acorns or looking for worms." From then on, he began hiding in the fig tree every day, watching and envying the peacocks in the garden. "Come away," said his brothers and sisters when they discovered his secret. "There are lambs in the field, and we have learned to bleat like that. It's much more fun than hiding in this tree." "Come away from that garden," said his mother, when the young Jays told her all about it. "The countryside is teeming with insects for us to catch and eat." "Come away from that tree," said the Jay's father, when the Jay's mother has told him why he did not spend time with his family anymore. "I'll show you how to dig holes in the earth so that you may know where to hide acorns when they ripen." But nothing could lure the young Jay away from the king's garden. Spring turned into summer and the peacocks started to molt, dropping feathers on the grass. The Jay had an idea. "Here's my chance to become a peacock," he said to himself. And while the peacocks were asleep in the shade of a rose-covered pergola, he hopped down from his perch and collected the fallen feathers. Before long, he had enough to carry out his plan. He found a piece of straw blowing in a bush, and using his claws and beak, he tied the peacock feathers to his own tail. "Now I am a peacock too," he said happily, and he flew proudly into the newly cut grass. "Hello there!" One by one, the peacocks lifted their heads and blinked their Jew-like eyes. "Oh, look, brothers, there's a new peacock in the garden," said one. "Are you a gift for the prince? Who sent you? The ruler of wondrous Babylon? The pharaoh of mysterious Egypt?" They all crowded around to welcome him, creating a terrible din. Then something unexpected and disastrous happened. With all the hugging and pushing and shoving, the straw that bound the peacock feathers to the Jay's tail came loose. The feathers fell off. "What treachery is this?" shrieked one of the peacocks. "We're not a peacock at all, but a common bird fit only to live in the woods. You stole those feathers from us. Give them back, you thief. Other peacocks, angry at being tricked, started to peck at the jay. And soon he had lost all the peacock feathers, as well as many of his own. The poor bird only just managed to escape with his life. After regaining his breath in the fig tree, he sadly limped home. His mother and father did not scold him for being foolish. They fed him juicy worms while he recovered. When he got better, his father showed him how to hide acorns when they ripened. The jay had great fun learning to call out like other birds and imitating the sounds of cats and lambs, a marvelous talent that all jays are best with. He never envied those dreadful peacocks again, but he was quite happy just to be himself. The end.
And so, the moral or the lesson of this fable,
Is fine feathers don't make a fine bird.
which means
Beauty is only skin deep.